Hello, hello. Welcome to Making Stuff Up with Wendy Watkins. I am Wendy Watkins, and I'm so glad that you're here to join us today. We're going to have a very tasty conversation with my guest. And remember, our conversations are based on integrating creativity and mindset so that you can have a delicious life. And my guest, Dr. Rubina Malik, is going to take us through creating a cup of tea and how we use our MSU for that. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Rubina. I have known Rubina for years. She is a global learning and development expert. She is a scholar. She is a doctor, my friend, the doctor. She received her master's and her PhD in coaching and marketing and has been a scholar for quite some time. And it is my pleasure to have us join us in this conversation. Welcome, Dr. Rubina F. Malik.
Great. Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Rubina.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for having me here.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Everyone's glad you're here because each week when we release these episodes, people join us to learn how to make stuff up and get their MSU. So let's start with the most important thing, which is giving you your MSU. So for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, we all make stuff up. It's all made up, right? And when you do that consciously, you are able to create a delicious life. And so for those of you that are ready to step into making stuff up, then you have your MSU now. They're little initials you can put behind your name, like Rubina. You can, Dr. Rubina Malik, MSU, right? MSU. So let me give you, since we're making a cup of tea, your MSU. Here you are, my dear.
Oh, Wendy, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Well, look, you're already making stuff up, right? That it's good to be a queen.
It is. Oh, hold on. Let me go get my tiara. I'm sorry. You're laughing, but I do have that in my closet.
I believe you, my friend. I believe you. As we all should have a tiara for those special occasions in life, right?
Right.
Because sometimes we just have to make up that we are the queen. So tell us a little bit about how you use your MSU or how you embrace this kind of concept or philosophy, Rubina.
Right. Wendy, when you invited me and when you were, you told me about the concept, at first I was like, what? Then I realized I make up stuff all the time. And what kind of stuff am I going to make up? Am I going to make up something disempowering? Am I going to make up something productive? Or am I going to, make up something that's going to like drain me or really have me look at the negative side of something? So it made me realize, like, first of all, I make up stuff all the time. It's a natural thing. And matter of fact, as human beings, we make up stuff all the time. And for me, myself, I've really realized how often I do make up stuff. And especially if it's an assumption that I make up, it can impact whether it's the relationship, whether it's the situation like work or what have you. And, most of the time, what we make up and what reality is are two different things, right? So our makeup, the stuff that we make up does not match what the reality is, because over here, we made up some story. We don't have any facts for it. We just like, oh yeah, well, she doesn't want to talk to me. My boss doesn't think this, or this is going to be so hard. That's my favorite, is this is going to be so hard, or I can't do this.
That is definitely one I think a lot of people here that are watching can relate to, right? This is so hard, or something that we fear or doubt. And so we make up that it's going to be hard. I invite, like Rubina, for you, and I invite you all to think about something that you made up was going to be really hard or scary. Right. And then you accomplished the task or went to the event or had the conversation. And what percentage of the time is it as scary as you think that it is?
Right. Majority of the time it's not, right? Like they say, you worry 95% of the time, and you really, like, when you do it, it's not as hard as it was when you know, like, you worry 95% of the time, and whatever you worry about doesn't even happen in reality 5% of the time, right? And
So
so,
true. So
but, you know,
true.
really when you say that, and especially when you say like something you feel like could be scary, or like you feel like you can't do it, like, it wasn't really scary for me. I've been a runner most of my life. I ran track, you know, I enjoy the pounding of the streets and, you know, running. And so I remember, so I'm a long distance runner at that. So it's, you know, like, I like to run long distance. And of course, long distance for me, when I was running track and stuff like that, was mainly, you know, 2-3 miles, you know, up to 5 miles. But there was this, I remember there was this poster, and this
Mm.
poster was in the hallway of school, and it was the New York Marathon, and it was the runners going over the Brooklyn Bridge,
Oh,
right?
cool. Yeah.
I can't find it to this day. I wish I had a copy of that. So if anybody knows where to get it, please send me one, because it was such a pivotal moment. Like, I used to think, like, I can't do that. Like, I would be in admiration of all of those people doing the New York Marathon. And so one day I decided to run marathon. I decided to train for a marathon. So I ran my first marathon, and I accomplished it. I ran a few halves, and then one day the deadline was coming up, when they opened the New York Marathon was coming up,
Oh, oh.
right? And so I just, like, I was waiting there online, you know, 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. go on, and guess what? I got in.
Ooh, yes. Of
The
course you
first
did.
time. Majority of the people say, "What? You got in the first time?" Because majority of the people, it takes them like 3 times to get in. So I got in the first time, and just so excited. And then, Wendy, I okay, don't laugh, but this is a true story. I had a stone about this big. Okay, I stepped on the stone and I twisted my foot. Right, like a piece of thing this big. Now talk about, I wonder what kind of stuff that stone makes up, right? Like, he got so much power that he, you know, impacted a 5'4", you know, princess running, right? And so
Well, I
anyway,
love this because you're making up that stones are making up stuff. That's really the best there.
I'm just making this up because I can. That's what we do. We make up stuff because we can, but is it empowering? You know,
Yes.
made up this stone. So I ended up, I mean, I was like, oh, I can't do this. My doctor wouldn't let me run for a while. I was like, oh my God, I can't train for it. But I had the most amazing, you know, one of my friends went down there. She went down there with me, celebrated with me. I made these other amazing friends. I had the most extraordinary experience. And I finished the New York Marathon, which is a dream for many, and a dream for me, because at one time I made up that that was not something that I could do, that it was something others could do, but not me. And so since then, I also wanted to see the marathon. You know, like, when you're running, you're always in it, but I wanted to see the finish line. And so a couple of years ago, actually, that was in my bucket list. So a couple of years ago, I went up to New York, and I was able to actually see the marathon, saw the runners coming through. And then ironically, I met this woman from Atlanta, believe it or not, in New York, whose husband was running. And she was like, hey, I was like, we just started chatting, and she was like, well, I'm going to move on. Hey, I mean, if you want to, I have 2 passes for the benches, you know, at the end of the marathon. Would you like one?
Wow.
I mean, talk about a dream come true. Like, so I was, not only did I make up I couldn't do it, then I made up, like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? But, you know, when we make up stuff, also, I have you know, I would say that the universe conspires to give you what you want. So we have to really be intentional about our thoughts and what we say and how we say it and what we make up. Because, you know, they say you get what you ask for, or, you know, that which you're thinking, you know, becomes in reality. So I make up stuff and I have to manage myself sometimes. Like, oh my God, okay, Rubina, is that real or is that like a fact? Is that what, what's the truth?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's my little story about, making stuff up and, being on the other side of it.
Well, what I love about that story is the true contrast of when you first saw the poster for the New York Marathon, you said, yeah, no way. I could barely do a 5K. And then you just went ahead and started doing 5Ks.
Right.
Then you made up and you shifted your perspective by saying, so many other people have done it. Why not me?
Right.
Right? Why not me? Which is such a beautiful way to use your MSU, right? For questioning, if other people can do it, why can't I do it? Because you
Right.
can. You really can. So
And a part of it is this training as well, right? So Jeff Galloway, I mean, shout out to him. He's got a great training program. And so I actually got his book, went into his training program. I love, his stores. I went in and got some shoes that actually fit my, like that fit with how I run and walk, and been a fan ever since. And like making stuff up. And we also have to make sure that we understand that if it's not real, is it like, can you go train for it, right? I mean, as as an expert in learning and development, where do we go where as human beings, right? So how do we realize that we can get trained? Like I can go learn this, whether it's in our job, whether it's running a marathon, or whether, what are we going to do today? Make some tea, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, let's make some tea. That's a really good segue.
Right,
You
it's my
know,
favorite.
yeah, here at Making Stuff Up, we like to bring together a little bit of creativity, right, of some sort, into our conversation. And I've enjoyed many cups of tea and chai with Rubina, and I thought, oh, what a great way. And it's so funny. Well, you're going to see what happened. We talked a little bit at the beginning before we got into it and talk about using our MSU. I'll go ahead and share. My MSU, I made up that we were making a cup of tea. I was wrong.
Totally wrong, my friend. Totally wrong.
So this is funny. This is how we can hear things and make stuff up, even when Rubina and I thought we were on the same page. I mean, we've talked about this a couple times, and tell them what you made up that we were doing, Rubina.
Oh, I was made up that like I was gonna share my expertise and how to brew a perfect cup of tea and what it takes to brew that tea. Because it's not just, get a bag and put it in a cup and get some hot water. Like we're talking, I have, canisters of loose tea. I have black tea. I have loose green tea. I have roses too. And she's sitting over here with, and not even a fancy tea bag,
All right,
but
look, my
something you
tea's
put
done. Oh wait, my tea's done. It says 7 minutes. Steep. I'm gonna steep. There we go. Steeping. Okay.
My tea is not done yet. My tea, we just
You
finished
so
boiling the water.
Well, what's it like? Okay, so that's all well and good, but that's just something to share with everyone, that it really is that simple,
Right.
that we can make things up and someone could totally misunderstand, even though we think we're on the same page. So before you go in and show us how to make a lovely pot of tea,
Right.
a delicious pot of tea, just share what's the difference? Why would someone want to do that rather than enjoying my honey lavender stress relief yogi tea with a fortune on it that says, laughter is the same in all languages.
Oh my God, Wendy, how perfect is that, right? I mean, being someone that speaks, 4 languages and travels around the world, right? And like how perfect.
Back then, right? It's a true
right to talk about language, but the thing is, we make even like that. We make like I'm going to
bring you back to my original question.
Right. Well, I was
This is what I love about being with Rubina. She's so wise. She wants to school me on every little thing that I tell her.
I mean, I am a professor, but
That's the scholar in you, girlfriend. So what's the difference between brewing a cup of tea and a pot of tea?
right. So what you're doing is you're taking hot water, putting it over a tea that's, we don't know how it's been processed. It's probably not pure, because when you're talking about tea, like, tea leaves, you're talking about these are, been taken out of the, like the tea flower plant, and then they're probably not as processed. So yours is processed. And it may not even be left over of the actual leaves. So just so you know, like, we can buy tea here. I mean, you paid probably what, $3.95 for that bag, for that box.
It's organic.
Whatever. But just so you know, there are teas that go up to $250 an ounce.
Wow.
Right.
That's better than good marijuana.
Right. Exactly. Right. And they are probably good.
I guess. I don't know. How would I?
No, but they are good. I mean, they are good in regards to their teas that are good for you. Like green tea is really good for you. If you find yourself being cold, you want to make sure you drink a black tea, a dark tea. Green tea is gives you more of a cooling effect, but green tea is is very good for you as well. So there's green tea, there's black teas. So this is a black tea, and then there's also herbal teas, right? So this is an herbal tea, and you notice they're in a canister, so you want to keep moisture away from the teas. So I keep mine in a closet, not exposed to light, in a closet closed like this. And this is my favorite part, is that there's also, you can put roses in your tea. Like, who would have ever thought? Yeah, right. So I actually have a bag, a bag of I know I went to the extreme, about a whole bag of rose tea, or roses that you can put in tea, and you
Lovely.
can, yeah. So like, for instance, this is so most of my teas are from the different parts of the world that I've traveled, and this is actually from England. Oh my God, just smell of it, it makes you want to have some tea.
Well, show us how you'll make a cup of tea out of that, Rubina. Let's make a cup.
And then, so it's got roses in it, just so you
Lovely.
know. Like
Lovely.
So first of all, I mean, I've already kind of brewed my water, and brewing water is really important, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to burn the tea leaves, okay? So what happens is the green teas are very fragile. Green, white teas are much more fragile. Oolong and black teas, they're not as fragile. And then your regular herbal teas that do not have caffeine. So and then the water temperature is really important. And Wendy, I don't know if you remember, but remember did we do something together? Oh, I must have done something for you, and you brought me this as a gift, like the water tester, like how hot the water is. Do you remember? Because I think I wanted one so bad. Like I couldn't find one, and like you found this for me. So I would test, back in the day, I would test how hot my water was. So for green tea, your water needs to be around 170 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And so that way the tea leaves don't burn. For the black teas, you can have it boiling. You can have it boiling.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
I thought it just,
No.
It was all the same. Okay. So what is that English tea? Is that a green or a black tea?
This is a black tea. So I have my water that's going to be, extra hot. And so, and when you're talking about loose tea, as this is a loose tea or leaves, so you want to have, like something like this. So I have this in here to use for this. I have other teapots, and some of these teapots have, I guess I have a collection. I have teapots from around the world. I have teacups from around the world. A couple of teapots, some bigger teapots as well. And then of course I love this steeper. I've had it for a while, and I just use this, if I just casually need to make it in a different cup. But this is what I usually make my tea in. So you put two I'm just gonna make 1 cup. So usually like 1 teaspoon. So I'm just gonna use 1 cup, put it in here. But Wendy, before I start making my tea, what I wanna do is make sure, or before I put my water in, I wanna make sure that my pot is warm as well. Because otherwise,
Oh,
when you put that water in, it's gonna take the temperature down because it's cold. So, you know, you wanna put the water in. I just should have just put the water on top of it. There we go. And you know what? Just for y'all, I'm gonna actually put a couple of roses in there too, just to add a little bit more flavor. And so I'm gonna let that steep.
let's see
Now,
what that looks like. Let's see your pot. Hold up your teapot for us.
so
Okay.
it's starting right now. So it's just starting, you know, so color's gonna come out. So I'm gonna let this steep. Alexa, give me 2 minutes timer, please. That's my best friend, Alexa. And
My
so,
Alexa, you woke my Alexa up too. We're both gonna have timers happening.
so for black tea, it depends on how potent you want it. I usually go with 2 minutes. That's usually good for me. For green tea, I would do 1 to 2 minutes. For black tea, you could do, from 3 to 5 minutes. I use 2. And then you let that brew. And then what I do also is, so I'm gonna use, excuse my cup. I'm gonna use my cup from Italy. So notice it's a cup, it's not a mug. Okay, so Europeans, other parts of the world, they have different ways of how they honor tea time and how they have tea. So, you can look at, like, this cup is from Paris, and you'll see that it's small, as well as the cup from London, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm sitting here making up all kinds of stuff.
right. Oh, by the way, also, I'm swirling
Whoa.
hot water. I know, really. I'm swirling the hot water in my cup as well, so my cup gets just a little bit heat.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
But go ahead. What are you making up, Wendy?
Well, I'm making up that tea is more than just a beverage, it's a ritual.
It is very much a ritual. Like, if you look at other parts of the world, like, I don't drink coffee. Like, coffee, I'm South Asian, so coffee is not a part of our, diet. Like, we don't have coffee in my part of the world. I'm sure we do. I just never had coffee.
Right.
My family never had coffee. And so yeah, it's more than, it's a ritual. If someone's coming over, you make chai, and you make tea, and it's you sit down, it's time. Thank you, Alexa. Turn timer off. So it's been 2 minutes. Thank you, Alexa. Turn timer off. So, Alexa, turn timer off. She's stubborn sometimes, just like her owner. I'm not saying I'm stubborn. I'm just saying her owner. I don't know who her owner is.
We can make up all kinds of stuff about
All
Alexa.
kinds of stuff, right? So it's been 2 minutes, and you'll see, the color. It's, definitely, and so I'm gonna take. So just FYI, I steep my teas, like a black tea and a green tea. I steep it twice. So basically, what I'm saying is I can use that twice. If it's a good tea, you can use those leaves twice because you didn't take everything out of it. An herbal tea, you would want to do it for 5 to 7 minutes, and that's not something you could probably reuse, only because you've taken everything out of the tea leaves. If you do it right and it's not burnt, your tea does not need sugar. I would not be putting sugar, in this tea. And I mean, obviously, if you want to put it in, you can. I don't make mine that strong either, where you would need it. So
Sounds like you really enjoy the flavor of the tea.
but you want to enjoy the flavor of the tea. And I think people who don't like tea is because they haven't done right. So one of the faux pas, if I said that word right, one of the faux pas is people leave tea bags in their mug and they don't take them out. And then that tea gets bitter.
My tea bag's out. It's hanging on the side of the cup.
Very good. Very good. Good.
Oh.
Yeah, very good. And so you want to make sure you take your tea bag out And because then otherwise, like I said, it gets bitter.
Yeah.
And
We don't
so
like bitter.
no, no. And here's a couple of tips on how do you determine like the water temperature. So, okay, you're boiling your water. So I have a stainless steel kettle. I don't, I'm very like, I don't want to use plastic and stuff like that. So I either use my kettle or I use the stove top. So this is how you determine the temperature. When it starts boiling and there's a little dots, little water dots running around, then that means it's good for the green tea.
Great.
When it starts roaring, the bubbles start roaring, that's good for the black tea. That's now hot. So that's
Perfect.
how I determine. Otherwise, I just use my Wendy's water
The thermometer.
thermometer, which you use for a turkey or something. But I use it for water.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's
and like,
that's the Virgo in me. I like to have the exact temperature.
right, right. Have the exact temperature, 170 for green tea. So Wendy,
Cheers
cheers.
to all of you. Cheers when you enjoy your ideal cup of tea. And that's such a wonderful time when you have your cup of tea to watch Making Stuff Up with Wendy and learn from guests like Dr. Malik, like Lubna Zero, like Lawana Bradford. We've had so many guests on the show. So you want to sit down and relax with your cup of tea and look at what you're making up, right? Because as Rubina said, I was thinking, Rubina, as you were talking, that making stuff up is almost like a game of charades, right? We are all trying to express ourselves and say something and
Right,
make stuff up around what we think it is. And in
right,
charades, here's the thing, we're checking in with the other person. We're saying it out loud, and they're like, no, no, no. And then when you
right,
finally get it, it's a yes,
right,
right? But in our life, we spend time making stuff up, thinking about things that aren't really true. They could be true, but aren't really true. And we don't spend time checking it out.
right.
That is when we start to make the shift from feeling good to not feeling so good, right? This is that concept of your thoughts create your reality, right? And so when you don't check in on things you're making up, you could be going down that worry path without even being on the right track, right? It's just one of those phenomenons that we do as humans. And I invite you in this conversation to, A, if you're going to make stuff up, make up the good stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
B, if you're making stuff up that doesn't feel good, either reframe it or check in with the other person you're making stuff up about to see if you're on path, if you're on target.
I love the reframing, what you just said. It really is a lot about reframing. And Wendy, I'll just take 30 seconds of your conversation just reminded me. I had a student one time and he just started acting funny around me. And so one day I just checked in and I was like, dude, and what's happening? I've just noticed, you're a little distant. Is there something wrong? Can I help you with anything? Do you have something going on? Because I wanted to check in. He was like, well, Dr. Malik, I saw you the other day and I said hello and you didn't even speak to me. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, I do apologize. I said, I don't recall. He's like, yeah, like you were just like, hastily going down the hallway. And I said, was this on Wednesday? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I said, you know what? I was running down the hall literally because I had something in my head. I had a task in my head. I was focused on that task. I was so single visioned that I
Mm,
wasn't seeing and hearing about anything else because
mm,
I'm naturally very task and results driven. And, in his world, he made up that I was ignoring him outside of the classroom, that I wouldn't speak to him outside of the classroom, right? Just inside of the classroom. And he was very disappointed. And then, afterwards, he thanked me. He's like, Dr. Malik, I so apologize. Like, I totally understand how I made that assumption. I made up that there was something wrong and really there was nothing. And what I just learned from here, because I'm always asking them to learn from things that happen to you as a leader, that's what you're doing. And he's like, I'm definitely going to start checking in versus making as you say, making stuff up.
Yes, making stuff up. So I love that story. And that is exactly what we're talking about here. So, because he had a choice. He could have made up, oh, she's so busy that she's just zooming past, but he didn't make
Right.
it up. We all
Right.
get to make it up and it may not be right. So make up the good stuff.
Right. Right.
All right. Well, Rubina, a pleasure. My
Thank you.
friend,
My
thank you
pleasure.
so much. And for those of you that are watching, if you have not subscribed yet to the channel, please do. We are on a target to hit our first 100. So mark the date. We're very close and would love for you to take us over the top. And feel free to share this with others that may benefit from learning how to make stuff up to live their delicious life. So until next time, as I mentioned, it's all made up. So make up the good stuff. Bye-bye.